Welcome to our ongoing classes on the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, the 7 universal Noachite commandments. We are currently in the middle of chapter 1 of Shaar HaYichud Veha Emunah of the Tanya, the second section of the holy book of the Tanya, the gate of unification and faith. Very briefly, the first half, the author, the Alter Rebbe, quoted a verse which states that you shall know and take it to heart that God is the only one, that Yud Kei Vav Kei, Havaya, is Elohim, 2 names of God, in the heavens above and in the earth below, and there is no other. And the author asked the question, why would one think that there's some God, who knows where, deep down under the sea, that the verse has to really push the point so strongly? So we began explaining, based on the interpretation of the Baal Shem Tov, on a verse from Psalm, from the book of Psalms, that states, L'olam Hashem, forever God, Dvarcha, your word, Bashamayim, is in heaven. Meaning to say, those very words that we learn about in the book of Genesis, in the story of creation, those words are actually in all of creation. The words that say, let there be light, for example, those words are actually creating light every single second. And then we went on to say that the Kabbalist, the Ari Zal, he explains that every single thing, even physical, material things, even things which seemingly are lifeless, like a stone, have godly energy which makes them exist, and that can be called their soul. That's the spiritual energy which makes things exist. Nothing can exist without that spiritual, without that godly energy making it exist. And we said that the idea is that creation is happening every single moment, which the Alter Rebbe, the author, is going to elaborate later on. But every single moment of creation, every single moment of existence, rather, is creation. Everything is being recreated from absolute nothingness. And as we said in our previous class, for the sake of illustration, if, so to say, God wanted, God forbid, to destroy the entire universe, destroy all of creation, what would he, so to say, need to do? And the answer is absolutely nothing. He would stop doing what he's doing now, and then automatically everything would go back to be absolutely nothing, as it was before, completely. And retroactively would be as if it never existed. No matter for how long the existence is, how many thousands of years, the moment that God would stop creating it, stop actively saying those words, everything would automatically turn back to absolute, complete nothingness. In other words, the nature of everything is to not exist, because the only existence is God and Him alone. Nothing else. So in order for there to be some type of an existence, God is constantly saying the words, Yehi, let there be, whatever it may be. And that's why all of creation is found in Bereshis, in Genesis, in the story of creation. One might say, what are you talking about? You open up the Chumash, the Bible, and you'll see that there's not so many things that are mentioned by name. So we said that, for example, take the idea of a stone. The language of Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue known as Hebrew, is different from every other language. All other languages are man-made, are what people decided and agreed upon, that these words convey this message, these words mean these things, and they make rules of grammar, etc. That's basically every language. I mean, of course, languages come from other languages and they develop, but basically, that's what languages are, with one exception. Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue. That is the language with which God created the world. That is the language which has 22 letters, and each one of those letters is not only a symbol, as it is with other languages, with all other languages. Those 22 letters are actual godly energy, as we're going to learn in the second half of this chapter. And therefore, whatever anything is truly called in the holy tongue, in Hebrew, that is its true existence. That name, that word that it has, is the exact letters with which God is creating it. And the fact that that word does not appear in the story of creation, it does, just not directly. You have to alter and, so to say, play around with the letters until you come up with it, as he's going to mention now. So, let us go back to page Ayin Vav Amud Beis, which would be 76b, or as it's printed on the top right hand, 152. And this is the middle of chapter 1 in Shaar HaYichud Veha Emunah. 4 lines from the bottom of the page, in the middle of the line. Ve'af. The line begins with the word shelifnei, in the middle of the line. Ve'af. And even though sheloi huzkar shem even ba'asara maimoros shebatayra. How can we say that a stone is getting its existence through the letters of the word even? Even is the Hebrew word for stone. 3 letters. Aleph, Beis, Nun. Those letters, in that particular order, which spell even, they are the letters with which God is creating right now, every single instant, the stone. How can we say that? The word even doesn't appear in the story of creation. So says the Alter Rebbe, Af al pichein, nonetheless, Nimshach chayus lo even, life, vitality, is drawn down to the stone, al yedei tzirufim v'chilufei oisios, through various combinations and switching and altering letters, hamisgalgelois birala she'arim ponim ve'acher, kama shekasu b'sefer Yetzirah, which they take on their form in what's referred to as the 231 gates, backwards and forwards, as is explained in the book of Yetzirah. Sefer Yetzirah is one of the oldest books of Kabbalah, of mysticism. In Sefer Yetzirah, it speaks a lot about letters, about the holy letters, and about creation. And there, it goes through the 238 gates of all the letters. It really isn't relevant for us now, here, to go into that deeply. I'll just very briefly mention how it works, sort of, or how we get to this number of 231, Reish Lamed Aleph. That's Gematria, as he's going to mention. Every single letter in Hebrew has a numerical value to it. The first letter, Aleph, equals 1. The second letter, Beis, equals 2. The third letter, Gimel, is 3. The 10th letter, Yud, is 10. The 11th letter, Kaf, is 20. The 12th letter, Lamed, is 30, and so on, through 90. And then the Kuf is 100, and the next letter is 200, all the way till we get to the 22nd letter, Tav, which is 400. So everything has its numerical value. So Reish, Lamed, Aleph is 231. How do you get 231? It's the 22 letters times 21 divided by 2. And then you have it backwards and forwards, so it's times 2. So it's basically 22 times 21, which should be, well, yeah, that's basically how we do it. But then it goes on, because each letter has its combination, it's interchanged. It ends up being beyond calculation, astronomical. And that's really how every single thing, it doesn't matter how many items, how many articles there are in the physical world, as long as it's a separate entity, it has a name in Lashon HaKodesh. It has a name in Hebrew. We may not know what the name is. It may not be something so simple as a stone being called an Even, but it has a name. That name, those letters in that particular order, are the vehicle. Those are the words with which God is creating it. Ad, to the extent, shemishtalshel, that it evolves, me'asara maimoros, from the 10 utterances, the 10 expressions of creation in the story of creation. When God says, Yehi, let there be, altogether, there are 10. Well, there's 9 times that it says that God said, let there be. And the 10th time, which is the opening words of Bereshis Bara Elokim, introducing everything. So altogether, there are 10. That's the official number, according to all sources of the Torah. We have it in Mishnah, in Tractate of Avos. One of the chapters begins by saying that God created the world with 10 ma'amoros, 10 sayings, 10 expressions of verbalization. All right, v'nimshach mehen, and from those 10 is drawn tziruf shem even, the combination of that name, of that word, Even, Aleph, Beis, Nun, which means stone. V'hu chiyusay shel ha'even, and that is, in fact, the very life of the stone. V'chein b'chol hanivrayim sheba'olam, and so too in all created entities in the world. The Alter Rebbe gave us one example out of the millions or more to show us, to illustrate. So it's not one of the things that's mentioned in Bereshis, in the story of creation, where it says, let there be. Certain things are mentioned over there, as you can see right away, as soon as you open up the beginning of the Bible. Stone is not mentioned, Even is not mentioned. However, it is there. You just have to know how to alter the various different combinations. So too, with every single created entity in the world, Hashemois shenikroyim bohem b'lashon hakodesh, whatever their name, whatever their title is truly, whatever they're called in Hebrew, in the Holy Tongue, hein, ois hadibur, those are in fact the very letters of speech, of the divine speech, hamishtal shalois, which evolve mimadrega lemadrega, from level to level, me'asara maimaris shebatera, from the 10 expressions of verbalization of creation which are written in the Torah, al yedei chilufim, through exchanging, utmurois ha'oisiois, and the changing of the letters, berala sha'arim, in these 231 gates, until shemagiois, that they arrive, umislabshois, and enclose themselves, be'oisoi nivra, in that particular specific creation, created entity, lachayoisoi, to give it vitality. So, take anything, if it's named in the story of creation, no question about it, then we know the exact words. But that's a very small category, very limited things that are directly in those 10 statements. Take anything else. Whatever its true name is in Lashon HaKodesh, those words, those letters are actually the vehicle through which, and God is saying those words and creating it. Like Evan for stone. Lefi she'ein protei anivroi michoilim lekabel chiyusam me'asar memoris atzman shebatayra. And the reason is, it goes through all of these, so to say, transformations, or it evolves through all these various combinations and changing the letters, because they cannot take the intensity of directly having these 10 utterances. Shachayus animshach mehen atzman, because the godly energy, that life force, which comes from those 10 statements directly, gadol ma'oid, is extremely great. It's very intense. Mi bechinas hanivroim pratiim. It's beyond the specific detailed creations. Vein koyach bohem, and they, the details, such as a stone, they don't have the ability or the strength. They're not vessels to be able to contain such intense godly energy. L'kabel achayus, to receive this vitality. Ella al yedei sheyered achayus, only through the fact that this godly energy descends, umishtalshel mimadrega lemadrega pchusa mimena, and it downchains, it evolves from one level to the next, to a lower level, less than it, and so on. Al yedei chilufim usmurais ha'oisiois, through the changing and exchanging, switching the letters, v'gimatriois, and the gematria, which is what we mentioned earlier, the numerical value, shein cheshbon ha'oisios, which they are the calculation of the letters. Ad sheyuchol yitzamtzem, and it has to keep going until it's able to contract enough, uli slabesh, and to enclose, uli hishavos mimenu, and to come into existence, to be created from it, nivra prati, a particular created entity. Let me explain. Again, we're talking specifically about Lashon HaKodesh, the language of God, the language of creation. This does not apply to any other language. Anything which has the same numerical value already must have some type of a connection between the two of them. Because nothing is coincidental, and this is not man-made. So if you will find me something which its numerical value equals number 101, 101, and then you'll find me something else which seemingly is unrelated, with different letters completely, and it will also equal 101. They have some type of a connection. It may be deep, It may not be too superficial, but they have a connection. Because everything with the same gematria is connected. For example, the word for Evan, let's use that word, stone, equals 53. 53. Aleph is 1, Beis is 2, Nun is 50. 1 plus 2 plus 50. 53 is the numerical value of the word Evan. Okay? Put that aside. Then you have another word, Gan, a 2-letter word. Gan means garden. Like we have right there in Bereshis, in creation, we have Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. There's a river coming from Eden and irrigating the garden. Gan means garden. Gan is Gimel Nun, 2 letters. 3 and 50. 53. 2 different words mean 2 different things. One has 3 letters, one has 2 letters. What do they have in common? Right, or even superficially? They both equal 53. There has a connection. There has to be a connection between a garden and a stone. Somehow, the godly energy that's creating them somehow is similar because they both equal 53. And if you can find me 10 other words which equal 53 with some other combination, same thing. They're all within the same type of category. That's just using gematria. And it can get extremely complicated. It can be much, much higher. And the same thing with interchanging letters. There are many forms how to interchange letter. Letters, for example, there are 5 parts to the mouth or related to the vocalization of words. 5 parts. There are the lips, the teeth, the tongue, the upper part of the mouth, the roof of the inside of the mouth, and the throat, guttural letters. Some letters, you can pronounce them with using your lips. Others, you need your tongue, etc. And that would be pretty much in every language. Any letter which is from the same category are interchangeable. The letters that are pronounced with your tongue, all those letters are closer related than other letters. All the letters that you need your tongue to pronounce are associated with each other and they're interchangeable. All the letters that you pronounce using your teeth, etc. And it goes on and on and on and on. And anything which is not directly written in the story of creation, which obviously is most things in the world, it's because it's a lower level and wouldn't be able to handle the direct godliness. And the more you need to alter, and the more you need to, if you will, play around with this whole combination of letters, the further down the line it is, the less godly it is. The lower level of godly energy that's making it exist. But one thing is for sure, it only exists because there is godly energy which is being, so to say, pumped into it right now through those letters. Whatever it's called, whatever the name is in Lashon HaKodesh, as he's going to say now. V'zeh shmoi asher yikru loi b'Lashon HaKodesh. And that name, whatever its name is, whatever it's called in the Holy Tongue, in Hebrew, hu kli, it is the vessel, l'chayus hamitzumtzum, to this contracted energy, this godly energy, b'oisiyos shem zeh, in the letters of this particular name, whatever its name is, shenishtal shel, which evolved through all of these changings. Me'asara maimaris shebatayra, but it all starts from the 10 expressions of creation. Yehi, let there be, ... Sheyesh bohem, because they have in them koyach v'chayus, they have the ability, they have the energy, livra yesh me'ayin, to create something from absolute nothing. Ula hachayoisoi la'olam, and to give it life, to make it exist forever. And then the Alter Rebbe concludes by saying as follows: the oiraisa v'kudsha brichu kula chad. That's a quote, pretty much a direct quote, right out of the Zohar, the most basic Kabbalah Sefer, mysticism. In the Zohar, it states that Oiraisa, which is the Torah, and Kudsha Brichu, which is God, are absolutely and all one. Now that would be a lesson, not just a lesson and not just a lecture for itself. That would be a whole series in itself. So let me try to sum it up in 30 seconds or less. Do not make the mistake that the Torah, the Bible, including the written, the oral, everything, is simply, merely, God's rules. God, the Almighty, the Creator, has a whole bunch of rules and regulations, or a bunch of commandments. And that's what the Torah is. The end. No. Is that true? Is that the Torah? Is Torah God's commandments and His rules? Well, yeah. But that's not what the Torah really is in essence. The Torah is inseparable from God Himself. It's His innermost essence, will. It is Him. This is how He expresses Himself in Torah. And therefore, as the Alter Rebbe explained in the first section of the Tanya, particularly in chapter 5, that when one learns Torah, they are actually grabbing, they are grasping, they are enveloping, they are holding on to God, which is impossible. And they do that. But getting back to the point here, what does the Alter Rebbe want with these words at the end? Simple. The Asara Maimaros, the 10 utterances, the 10 statements of creation, it's not just that, God created the world and He gave us the information by putting it into the story of Genesis 1. That's Torah. The Torah, the Bible, is not a history book. It is not a storybook. And it's not only a book of commandments of God. Are the 613 commandments there? Yes, they are. Are the 7 Noachide commandments there? Yes, they are. Are there many stories in the Torah? Absolutely. But that's not what Torah is. What is Torah? Torah is God. Now, in the Torah, in the beginning of the written Torah, God puts in there the story of creation. So it is part of Torah, which means to say creation comes through Torah. God is creating the world through these particular words. Now in the Torah, in the written Torah, It only tells us the very general creation, 10 statements. But then all of the details, every single existence, has to somehow be traced back to those 10 statements, because those 10 statements are Torah. So the point is that it's the 10 Maimaris, the 10 statements that are in the Torah. So it's not just, well, there's 10 statements, God created the world in 10 statements. It's the Asara Maimaris, the 10 statements, the 10 utterances in the Torah. Now we know a little bit, not just about the story of creation, but how everything exists. No matter what it is constantly being recreated, and it's being recreated through letters, holy letters of the Torah. 22 letters. And those 22 letters are crucial. And every one of them is a vehicle through which godly energy is coming into it to make it exist. And the 22 letters go back and forth and everything. And that is a tremendous amount of Kabbalah dealing with letters. Kabbalah, the mysticism, deals a lot with the holy letters. And the Alter Rebbe is not going to get into that. Basically, this is what he told us about it. Very, very little, but just enough for us to understand or to appreciate that everything is being created by the letters of what it is called in Lashon HaKodesh. If you know the name of something, that's it. So let's just take something which comes from something else. In other words, you have furniture, you have a table. The table came from a tree, but it's no longer a tree. So now it's a table. So it's a different word altogether. And we do have that word in the Torah, just not in the story of creation. We have that word later, for example, by the Mishkan, by the tabernacle. One of the kelim, one of the vessels in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, was shulchan, table, upon which the 12 showbreads were always kept on. So we know the word in the Torah, in Lashon HaKodesh, the Hebrew word for table. And that word is shulchan. And that word is comprised of specific letters in a particular order with a certain numerical value. So God is recreating every single second, every single table in the universe by the word shulchan. Just like we gave the example of Evan for a stone, so too shulchan is for a table. Shin, Lamed, Ches, Nun. Those letters in that order truly are table. Beforehand, it used to be a tree, but it changed. So therefore, the godly energy now, for it to exist as a table, not as a tree, has to be further down the line. And take anything you want. And then there are many things that we don't know what they're really called in Lashon HaKodesh. That's our problem. But it must have a name in Lashon HaKodesh. And those letters in that order are the energy. And it all has to go back to the 10 utterances which are written in the Torah. So Shulchan we have in the Torah. Evan we have in the Torah. But if you find me something which is not written in the Torah, it still has to be able to go back to those 10 statements written in the beginning of the Torah. At this point, let us begin chapter 2. Perek Beis, chapter 2. V'hinei, and behold, mikan, from here we have tshuvas haminim, the response, the answer to the heretics. V'gilui shayresh ta'usam, and the revelation of the root of their mistake. Hakoifrim, those people that we're describing, these heretics, which deny bashgacha pratis, in specific, particular, divine providence. Uveoisois umoifsei haTorah, and in the signs and in the wonders of the Torah. So you have people, all sorts of people. You have intellectual people. You have philosophers. And you have so many different philosophies. Now, obviously, we have people which claim to be non-believers, or they claim to be atheists. They claim not to believe in a creator. Then you have people who claim that they do believe in a creator. They do believe in God. However, they don't believe that he is involved and that he is observing and that he is supervising every single detail. And then you have people that they don't believe the quote-unquote miracle stories in the Bible. So the Alter Rebbe now is going to address the mistake, what's really the root of the mistake of these people that are in denial of the absolute real truth. And here's how it goes. I mean, these are intelligent people. These are philosophers. Shetoyim, they mistake b'dimiyoinam hakoizev, in their false imagination. Shemidamin, they compare Maaseh Hashem, Oisei Shamayim va'aretz, the work, the deed of God, the one who makes heavens and earth, Lemaaseh Enosh v'sachpuloisav, to the deeds, to the work of man and his workings. That's the source of their mistake. That's the root. They compare God creating to man making. I would say man creating, but that there's no such thing. Man can't create anything. We can invent, we can innovate, we can alter, but we use what exists. So here's their mistake. Ki kashayatza l'tzoyrech, Keli, when the craftsman finishes and completes and has manufactured a vessel, whatever it is. The guy's a carpenter, and he made furniture, tables and chairs, bookcases, etc. Whatever. He's an artist. He painted an amazing, beautiful painting. Shuv eina keli tzarich lidei atzoyrev. After he has completed it, that product that he made, that vessel, does not need to come on to the manufacturer at all. The guy took the clay, or he took the silver, whatever, and he worked it, and he did whatever needs to be done, very talented, and he made this beautiful vessel. Once it's made, once it's finished, the vessel does not need its manufacturer at all. The manufacturer can go off on vacation to the other side of the world. He doesn't have to think at all about it. The manufacturer can die, and the vessel does not change. Because even though this craftsman, the manufacturer's hands have left it, he's not touching it any longer, and he's walking around outside of the marketplace. Nothing to do with this vessel. The vessel exists in its form, in its image, mamish, exactly as it came out of the craftsman. Exactly. While he was crafting it, yes, it needed everything about him. He was fine-tuning and he's using all these different tools and he's very, very careful, very meticulous, of course. Once he's done, finished product, that moment and 100 years later, it's all the same. The manufacturer does not need to be doing anything, just as it came out from his hands. It now exists. That's how it is down here in the world of physics. That's how it is with people, with manufacturers. And here comes the mistake. Kach, so too, midamin hascholim ho'elu, these fools compare ma'aseh shamayim v'aretz, the work of heavens and earth. They say, yeah, there's a creator, of course. I mean, intellectually, you cannot deny that there's a creator. You don't want to call him God. That's just a word. That's just whatever language. Whatever you want. You don't want to say it's a him because that sounds like it's male. Whatever. But you have to agree that there is creator who's beyond everything and is beyond time and space and always was and is the creator. Logically, that has to be. You can't be intelligent and deny that. But here comes the mistake. They think that he created heavens and earth and let go. He made it an independent entity. He's so powerful, he's so magnificent, that he created what we call nature and set it into motion. He made laws of nature and seemingly infinite amounts of factors and variables, and here we are. And it could exist like this, theoretically, forever. He's such a powerful creator. He doesn't have to keep winding it up every million years. It's ready to go. That's how they view it. Big mistake. What's the mistake? Ach, tach me'ra'ois einehem. The author, the Alter Rebbe, is, so to say, borrowing an expression, a term, from a verse in the prophet. Their eyes are covered from seeing ha'hevdel ha'godoil, the great distinction, shebein ma'aseh enosh v'sach puloisov, between the work of man and his doings. Shu yesh miyesh, it's only something from something. Anything that a person does, anything in the laws of physics, it's something from something, as great as it may be. Rak shemeshane atzura v'atmuna, he's simply just changing the form, the image, mitmunas chatichas kesef, from being a piece, a chunk of silver, litmunas keli, to becoming a vessel. It was a chunk of silver, which is a certain type of metal, and now it's a beautiful goblet, it's a coin, it's a candelabra, That's all. That's what he did. He took silver, which existed, and he worked it to make it a beautiful vessel. They don't see the difference between that, l'maaseh shamayim v'aretz, to the deeds of bringing into existence heavens and earth. Shu yesh me'ayin. That is something from absolute nothing. There is no evolution. It doesn't evolve one thing from the next. And even if you want to say, and even if one would take that approach, how far back do you go? And then there's a point where you say, well, it went bang. What went bang? Well, all of this energy, mass, gas, we don't know. We have no words for it. Where'd that come from? So, at a certain point, you just say, don't know. Okay, so let's not say don't know. Let's explain what the Torah says. In Genesis, the story of creation, God created heavens and earth. First verse, Genesis 1:1. And he created it from absolute non-existence. It's his word that brought it into existence, that brings it into existence. That's it. So you cannot compare the two. A manufacturer, yesh mi-yesh. Existence, something, material, from existence, from material. God, creator, yesh me'ayin. Existence, material, from absolute nothingness. That's their major mistake. And because they're missing that, that's the root of all of the heresy that follows. And because of that, they then think that, oh, God could be so mighty that he creates nature and he just put it into effect, and now he can go off and do his other business, or whatever he does, or whatever is beyond our understanding. But that's it. He's not involved in the nitty-gritty. And they think, oh, what kind of a belittling is it? What kind of a God do you think it is that he cares about and he's involved with every single blade of grass on the planet? Every single tiny insect? Microscopic? Every single molecule he's involved in creating? Please. The reason they make that mistake is because they're lacking understanding and they compare creation to what man-made things are. I think we'll stop at this point. So we are on the very top of page Ayin Zayin Amud Beis 77b, or 154, second line. So until next time, everyone should have much success in studying, in promoting, and most importantly, in observing the 7 Noahide commandments and making this world the perfect world that it's meant to be, and to bring about the moment, the advent of Mashiach, one moment sooner, with the complete revelation and the coming of Mashiach. May it be now. Thank you.